Hey students, welcome to week 3 of Business 426, Production Management and Operations. We got a number of learning objectives for this week, so it's going to be a busy week, but you guys can do it. It's 3 chapters worth, chapters 7, 9, and 11. So what we're looking at is understanding understanding what a manufacturing process is, and we're looking at like how things are glued together, how they're put together, how they're organized inside of a manufacturing process. And we're going to look at some simple manufacturing processes and do some quick analysis on them out of the text. We're also going to look at service processes, manufacturing processes and service processes. There is definitely overlap because when you describe a process, you use the same set of tools. But service processes are different. We're going to take a quick look at that. And we're going to see how service processes are organized, and again do some simple analysis of some service processes, and then we're going to do a comparison between them as well, between manufacturing processes and service processes. Okay, let's talk about manufacturing processes first. There are different types of businesses that use different types of manufacturing processes. For example, there's make to stock, assemble to order, make to order, and then engineer to order. And let me just give you just a quick a sample of each of these. So a make to stock would be something like when you go to the grocery store and you pick up a can of beans off the shelf. That was a make to stock item. Those beans, that can of beans, bush beans, for example, is a make to stock item. Bread that you pull off the shelf, milk that you pull off the shelf, they were made to stock. They weren't made to your specifications necessarily. They were made to stock to go on the shelf. Assembled to order, a little bit different. When you go to McDonald's, for example, or Wendy's, someplace like that, what you do, excuse me, is you order like by the number. You say like, I want a number 1. And what they do is they put together pre-made items, a hamburger, a Big Mac, for example. They give you a Coke and they put some French fries in there. That's a assemble to order. You ordered by the number. They put things together and they delivered it to you. And you can actually change that up too. I'm sure you probably know that. So that's like an assemble to order. Maybe you order off the dollar menu. You order one of this, one of that, whatever. Okay. Make to order is even different yet. So let's say that you go to a restaurant and you order a hamburger, and the waiter asks you how you want your hamburger done. Do you want mustard, ketchup, all that kind of stuff? You are delivering the specifications for the product that, in this case, the food that you're going to consume. So example of that. And then also like this engineer to order, and this one's a little bit different. We use this a lot in automotive, at least over here, in the Detroit area. A lot of automotive companies work this way. So when I used to work for a supplier, I would spend a lot of time in Dearborn at Ford. And we as a supplier would actually help engineer the product that we were responsible for. We would work alongside the engineers at Ford, for example, and we would design exhaust systems alongside them. Now, we were responsible for making them as well, but we would actually engineer them to their specifications. It takes a lot longer to do that. But it's a more involved process too. So here's a quick example. You'll see this picture in your book as well. We want to point a couple things out on here. So we just covered the make to stock, assemble to order, make to order, engineer to order. In the engineer to order process, pretty low inventories because like you're designing alongside the folks, in this case it was Ford Motor Company. And I mean, eventually when you start making product, yeah, you have inventories. But in the beginning, when you're just in this sourcing process where you're, in this case, Ford is sourcing their product to the company that we were at, we were helping them engineer the product. Not a lot of inventory. Long lead times though. To design a car, it starts like 3 years before. In some cases, maybe even a little bit longer. But anyways, to make and source a car. This make to stock, you know what? When a grocery chain buys beans, for example, they might look at bush beans. They might look at somebody else. That's the sourcing process. Those companies make it and then they deliver it to the grocery store. It gets put on the grocery store. Lots of inventory. All right. Very short lead time. So you kind of get the idea. That's how this chart works. Oh, also cost. These are generally way more expensive. Very expensive processes. These make to stock, very inexpensive. All right. There's different manufacturing processes that you can use when you're designing a manufacturing process. You can go anywhere from like a project type approach all the way to a continuous process. I included a video in the extra materials section, in the module for this week. Take a look at it. I got an example of a continuous process, so you kind of see what that looks like. Assembly line, we kind of know what those are. You know, the product goes by, people put things on it, whatever the case would be. A manufacturing cell is a pretty flexible cell that can be retooled to do any number of things. Back up here at the project level, generally it's an area, and there's nothing in the area until the project is defined. Then equipment's brought in, processes are brought in, and it's put together. And then when the project is done, it's cleared back out, and then you start over with the next project. So when you're talking projects, you're talking very low volumes, not very efficient in terms of making product. And like it says, it's like a one-of-a-kind deal. Usually very expensive too to do one-off kinds of projects. All the way at the other end, if it's a continuous process, you have a lot of volume, high volume usually. It's continuous flow, it's always making something. Stamping machines, for example, that stamp out metal, kind of in this area of continuous process, makes a lot of parts. But it's a very efficient process and the cost is very low. Let's talk about service organizations for a minute. So with services, I mean, this may make sense to you, but maybe you haven't thought about it before. You can't inventory service. You can't build up service capacity and store it away like you can car parts or Nike shoes or things like that. So you can't inventory services. You have to be able to meet the demand as it comes in through the front door. So service capacity is a pretty big issue because you have to figure out, what am I going to design my process for? How many people should I be able to handle at any one time? And what happens if the people don't show up? Can I flex my process down? What if more people show up? Can I flex up? And marketing can help adjust demand. Think about this for a minute. I'm not sure what businesses you're all in, but like in the business I'm in, where we're a staffing agency, so we're a service organization, we could increase the flow of people, of applicants by ramping up our marketing. So we do a lot of digital marketing. And when we don't do it, we see the flow slow down for applicants. And you can't separate operations management functions from marketing in a service organization. I'll show you a diagram in a minute that kind of helps explain that. But think about it like this. There is no separation of operations, marketing, and design and that sort of thing. It's all part of the same package when you think about services. Whereas in a manufactured good, you have the operations group, you have marketing, and you have different organizations that make it work. Not so in service. They all work together and they're all happening at the same time. Waiting lines, like it says, can help with capacity. We have an amusement park in this part of the country called Cedar Point. And when you go to Cedar Point, you get stuck in these queues, these cow lines is kind of what we call them. And they weave you up to the front of the line. That's a waiting line. It's a queue, actually. It's how they manage some of their capacity.